When was the last time you were able to find yourself completely in a moment? Where you weren't lost in the past or worried about the fast approaching future? If you're anything like me, moments like that come few and far between. For a while now, I have found myself wondering where people could go to find moments like that. It would have to be a place where you could connect to the land around you, to the people you might share the space with, and ultimately to yourself. I'm lucky enough to have family and friends that have places like these across the United States. And I'm even luckier that they were kind enough to share these spaces with me for a little while. My name is Will Parson, and I'm looking for a place to be.
The way I would describe it, it's a little bit like if one is getting ready to go to, let's say, church. When you walk into a church or in a movie, they slowly dim the lights. There's a little bit of a dramatization, and it allows you to shift to a different way of thinking.
You become where your mind's not like analytically thinking about it. Your senses are experiencing it. It's not, of course, you're not quite like an animal, but I'm sure it's closer to animals. They're more in tune to their environment.
I think for all those reasons, I think a cabin is a place that brings family together, brings people together, and certainly, I think, has done that.
I feel really part of this place on every level possible. The fact that it gives me the gift of a quiet place of reflection and contemplation through quite often the vehicle of my art.
Well, I think a cabin is a refuge, a place to that you can get away to, a place where you can contemplate.
When I'm living out here, I'm here to be connecting to the land. Our grandfather purchased this land in the 66, 67, and so I was around 8 or 9, and so we first started coming here, and he wanted land that could be protected, that he would protect, and so that's what he put the word out. He's looking for springs and wetlands and swamp. From the beginning, when we came, that was very ingrained in us to try to protect the land as much as you can.
I've always felt incredibly close to the place, close to the mountains. I love the Appalachians.
Evelyn and I, and our kids, value this place so much as something that is distinctively unique.
Where you are is quite different for each place. You're going to hear the sounds differently. Anything that connects a person just encourages them to become more alive. I think we all have that potential in us. If we don't understand, if we don't feel the deep interconnection to what we are, then as the next generations come, there's less and less concern about the environment. And in some ways, that's how we are where we are right now.
Being physically engaged with every step of the way, I think, connected me personally with it. But also, I have not a regimentation, not a discipline, but a method of starting the day when I'm down here that seldom is varied from. Some people pray, meditate, exercise, do yoga, jog. I sketch every day, but in particular down here, looking at the vistas from different places, close in and far around. That has connected me, that rhythm. That was the exact same window where I laid down after arriving in 2010, which I later discovered a week later back in Denver. I just had my first heart attack, and I laid down, took a bunch of aspirin here, not knowing what was going on, and just laid on the bed looking out that window. There was a connection that was really interesting. I did a whole series of artwork in the next year and a half entitled Still and Centered Point. That was a Ram Dass book, and he had spoken of the very still and centered point one has. Sisu gave me that opportunity. That still and centered point could move in the wintertime into the cabin and maintain that sensibility of, I'm part of this, I'm integrated into it. I told my family I'd eventually like to have my ashes spread here, and of course my wife said, we'll see.
Various members of the family, I think, would not only help in the building, but just give us a lot of support in the effort. Because my mom had breast cancer and was, sick the last few years, and yet she put a lot of effort into the cabin, and she did what she could, a lot of work, and I think she was quite proud of the fact that that she had a place that was hers, and that she could escape to as well.
I would say everyone benefits, and they benefit in different ways. You develop an intimacy, but then it's just like, it's part of you. So you want to take care of you, you want to take care of others, you want to take care of what you love, and you recognize it's taking care of you, it's nurturing you.
That puts me more in contact with myself, because the cabin is like my big red coat there. It truly is like that. It wraps its warmth around me, but the warmth is as much emotional as it is physical. And someone either understands that or they don't. It gives my creative soul a sense of place.
The connection with the land is very deeply connected to my deep connection with my grandfather in particular, but my grandparents and lots of other relatives, and went hiking all over with my grandfather. And I love being with people out here and helping them connect to the place, and to particularly if they're not used to being in a place like this, it's always a treasure to help host them or enable them to be here.
It helped bring me closer to my dad. I'd been living away since college, and this is a way for us to do something together, and it was just a wonderful summer.
And your intimacy and your interconnection with any part of life enriches yourself as a being, and you take that to your connection with other people too.
That whole sharing with someone, this is a different coloration. This is a different palette of experiences in life. That's what being here does. It allows me to connect with people.
Then you bring it to another human, and the same with your interaction with plants and animals and the rhythms of nature. The more in tune you are, I think the more sensitive you are as an individual in everything that you do.
One curator I connected really well with when he came down for less than 24 hours, but spent the night and got up early dawn and went for a walk with me. But I soon just kind of walked off into my own little area of contemplation. And he wrote about that afterwards, that you share it, but it also provides, almost demands a private place. So you connect with people, but if the people are of this attuned sensibility to being out in nature, this isn't pretty here, but it's beautiful.
It's brought me closer to the people, to the region, to the local history, and certainly to the family. The family love this area. They love the mountains, and pass that same feelings on to me, I think.
As a family, we didn't have cell phones then, so you're just talking to each other, or you're observing the same things. I think that can happen more in the outdoors. You're supposed to go just be outside, do what you want most of the day, but look for something that really makes you come alive, and then share that. We'll come back together and have like a little group chat.
Even though you weren't talking with them or walking with them, you come back at the end of the day and there's a shared responsiveness as you sit around the fire.
Telling stories at night and letting kid tell its stories, and the kids hearing the stories that are told, those are like passing on your traditions among the family, or stories that are told among the family. Or you might, if this family is good at singing,
I think my interest has always been on how to continue recognition of one's heritage, and with the younger generation, I think it's the connections to their land, to their history, to their ancestors. Of course, is they're stepping further away from that. If you can show them something, give them something about their past that they can incorporate and own as part of their own, or spark an interest to learn more about the older generation, what they represented. I think knowing your past, knowing where you came from, is the key to knowing who you are and what your future, what you can do and what your future paths can give you.
a lot of it does have to do with nurturing relationships with other humans. I think it nurtures you in ways that helps you nurture your relationships or cultivate your relationships with each other. It just slows you to a different pace.
I think if you can do something that brings out some of your qualities that you weren't sure you had, just stick-to-itiveness, it certainly has had a lasting effect over the years. Knowing it's something that I could do and that I could accomplish if you put your mind to it.
It's not just an end result, it's a 23-year-long process.
I do think there's a spiritual connection. I think people identify that differently, so they don't need to use that word, but I do think we grew out of all of this, and that's in our DNA.
I see those as sacred places. Sisu has become sacred to me. This place will continue to evolve. It has its own rhythm now.